The following program contains names, places, and events that have been anonymized or fictionalized for the purposes of protection and safety. The following program is provided for entertainment purposes only, and any commentary from the hosts are strictly conjecture and should not be held as making any definitive statements about the truth or identity of any particular individuals or circumstances. If you or a loved one are involved in an abusive relationship, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 for support.
Good Monday morning, sleuthies. Hey, Hannah.
Hi, Mackenzie. We're back. We're back with another doozy.
You guys, so a thing happened and I think this is going to be a two-parter. I'm sorry. But you guys are going to be on the edge of your seat the entire freaking story, because I know that we were, and listen, there were tears. Yeah. There was so much emotion. You are going... There's trigger warning. There's children, minors involved. There's rape/sexual assault. There's
I'd also say like neglect.
Yeah. We are, I say this every episode, but we are dying to know your thoughts after this. So make sure you're join the Patreon too.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, if you're somebody that's like, I got to wait until part 2 comes out, I can't do half and then a week, go join our Patreon if you need a little something extra, because we put out 2 bonus episodes every month. You can rewatch live streams that we do with y'all. Last time we did a live stream, we helped, shout out to Tracy and my mom, because we helped them with their dating app profiles, which was so fun. So you can literally go watch and hear all of the dating app tips.
And it's only like $5 a month, and it really supports the show. And we are just so grateful for all the support you show, even just by listening and sharing on your social media and all the things. So should we go ahead and get into it? I'm really dying to hear from Clara.
Yeah, Clara, we are in love with you beyond. I mean, she's amazing. I'm really excited for everybody to get to know her.
All right, you guys, hold on to your pants.
A little low for me.
But I do love your singing voice, Hannah.
I was singing the theme song, but that's not why we're here. We're here for Clara. Hi.
Okay, Clara, we are more than ready to hear your story. Please take us on your journey.
Yes. So there's some very important context to my journey. So the first piece of context is that this started when I was 17 and going into my senior year of high school. So this whole ordeal,
such a baby,
right? So this whole ordeal lasts from the summer of before my senior year until my beginning freshman year, summer after freshman year. So it's about a year and a half, 2 years. So 17, 18, 19. So all late teenage years, not super adult yet. The second important piece of context is that although I'm 17 and I do live with my parents are not the supportive type. So they're not the type of people that like you're friends with. I'm not friends with my mom or dad. Like they're very strict parents, but they're also very absent parents. So it's like this weird dichotomy where on one hand, they want to be helicopter mom and dad, but on the other hand, they don't care how you're feeling. They don't want to know anything about what's going on in your life. They just want to have control over it. So
wow, that must have been hard.
It was just odd for, especially as a teenager, you want to do your own thing. You want to have your own life, and you have a lot of emotions because you're a teenager.
Oh, yeah. And you want somebody to try to take you seriously and understand.
Exactly. So
do you have siblings?
I have one brother. He is 3 years younger than me. So he was 15 when the story starts, and that's going to come into play too. Little teaser there.
Oh, God.
Right? So then the third important piece of context is that if you will flash back your brains to the Farmers Only episode where she had a traumatic brain injury, I, at this time of my life, also had a traumatic brain injury the previous fall. Yep. Real story. I was a athlete and I played soccer, and I played like high level soccer. So I was playing on my high school team and everything, but I also played for the national team, which for the women is like the Olympic team.
Wow.
So that injury was like the very beginning-ish end of my junior year. And I had continued to have problems up until this point because I had been in school nonstop. And the injury was in like early fall or late fall of that year. And it just continued to progress. So luckily I didn't have memory loss problems as in the previous episode, but I did have issues with the emotional regulation, chronic headaches, absentee, like I would just zone out in and out of like attentiveness, but not consciousness. But I did have an issue where if like I became overstimulated at any point, whether it was like walking down the hall in school and it was just too noisy, I would pass out entirely. So I had to be very careful because there were at least 3 instances where I just hit the ground in the middle of the hallway.
Because of this brain injury?
Yeah. So, and I'm 25 now. This happened when I was 17, and I still today have to see a neurologist for this because it's just been a lot. But at the time, it was still very fresh, and a lot of these symptoms were still extremely exacerbated. So that was another kind of key factor into this being the perfect storm. And then the last piece for all of this fun stuff is that right after this brain injury, but right before this situation, I was in a 3-year-long relationship with a guy that was a year younger than me, which in high school, like you don't date a year below you as a girl. Like you just don't do that.
And you don't stay in a relationship for 3 years.
Like you just don't do that. So
you were wifed up.
I was considered, like I thought this was going to be like my high school sweetheart era. Like I was ready for all of that. And then he cheated on me. He had dumped me for this other girl. He dumped me. I didn't even find out about the cheating until after, the week before prom. So I was, 1, lowest self-esteem ever, because who gets dumped by a boy that's a year younger than them a week before prom? 2.
Oh, boy.
2.
A week before prom.
2, I didn't have any, like, I lost all my close circle of friends because they were all soccer players, and I couldn't play sports anymore because I had a head injury.
Oh, that must have been devastating.
It was just a bad year all around. And 3, you know, like I didn't have family support. So like I don't have friends at this time, really. I mean, I do, but like they're doing their own thing.
They're all busy.
Right.
Your parents aren't supportive.
Right. So I don't have friends, don't have family to go to. And my brother's younger. So it's not like he's like a authority figure of any kind or someone to look up to. And then, because he's a kid. And then on top of that, like I'm still trying to regulate my own emotions, decisions.
You're trying to get through school
on top
without
of a brain injury.
Right.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I was 10 weeks behind because I was out of school for 6 weeks and then I could only do school part-time for 4 weeks. So I was 10 weeks behind on schoolwork my entire senior year. And I was a straight A student. So like B's were not acceptable to me. I had a 4.0 plus my entire high school career.
Ooh,
despite
that's me. I get that feeling. I get that.
And then
your
your mental health was probably like
gutter. I only lived to do homework and go to sleep and go to school. And I only slept like 4 or 5 hours a day, despite having a brain injury, because I was trying to catch up on schoolwork and I was in APs and all this other stuff. But so that's like the foundation of like the mindset we're in going into this, which is important to know moving into the story. So with that, we dive in. So we are in the summer after my junior year, before my senior year, after this breakup, after all this stuff happens. And every single summer for 15 years of my life, I went to this Christian camp. And this camp had the best people in the whole world. It was my safe space. It was the only place where like I didn't have people that knew me outside of camp, where everything just kind of, it's like a clean slate.
You can be a different person.
Right.
I went to camp too.
See?
It's the same thing. Yeah. You're like, it's your reinvention.
Exactly. And this camp was really unique in that everybody went back the same weeks every single year. So I had the same core group of friends every year that I went for 15 years. And so everybody knows everybody. Everybody's familiar. So we're at camp and there's this new guy this one year and he had always gone a different week. So there's 10 different weeks that you can go in the summer for a 1 week period. We always went like week 5. He always went like week 8. And this year he went week 5. So all of us know each other. And there's this new kid, Drew, and he joins the scene. And like somebody new is exciting, right? I mean, we all want to get to know this new person.
Oh boy.
But I'm
sure he loved it.
He was excited. He was very extroverted. I am very introverted. But everybody kind of already had like their clique friend groups because we had known each other so long. So for him to break in was a little bit awkward. And so I wasn't totally sold on him just being a part of our super intimate friend group at this point because we like know each other's deepest, darkest secrets. I mean,
and who the hell is this guy?
Right.
So let's keep him at arm's length.
Yeah. So, and I mean, he goes to a school that's not right next to my school. He lived about an hour away from me. But his school was like known for being this prestigious school in the area and it was very well connected and a lot of people knew a lot of people from that school. So like, you're not just going to tell this guy things because who knows who he's going to tell.
Okay. Got it.
Right. Yeah. So Because I grew up.
We don't trust him yet.
He has to prove himself.
Exactly. Because I grew up in rural Vermont, which is extremely like farm towny. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody talks to everybody. So a lot of the people from this camp, although we're not all from this same spot in Vermont that I'm from, like it's still the same kind of, I guess, culture, we should call it. So new kid on the scene. I'm not super sold, but he's super sold on getting into my clique in the friend group. He wants to be friends. He's really funny. And he's like this tall, dark, handsome kind of guy. And he just walks in, gives all the compliments, but only to me, which I found really weird at first because I don't have any self-esteem at this point in my life. And
you're like, what do you want? Why is he talking to me so nice? That's
exactly.
weird.
I was very suspicious. I was
been there.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I don't trust you. I don't know you. I don't like you. Leave me alone. But then one day we're at free time, which is like an hour a day every day, where we just had everybody all together in the same like field area. And mind you, this is like an in the woods camp. So we're not like sitting in cabins in like, you know, well-developed civilized areas. Like we're out in the middle of nowhere.
Was this like tents?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you
Like with the bugs? No,
yes.
absolutely not.
Tents.
Yeah,
with
my
the
camp
bugs.
had cabins.
I'm done. I'm checking out of this story. I cannot. If you mention one thing about a frog, I'm done.
Frogs are the best part.
Absolutely not. No. Get out. She's done. She's done. Cancel the show.
But so we're like out. Now, granted, we did have running water at the main camp, so we had that much going for us.
Well, praise be.
Right? That's
Mackenzie's like bare minimum.
that's a win. But so we're all hanging out in this field, right? And like everybody's just bored because we don't have phones. There's no cell service anyways. I mean, what else do we have to do but hang around with each other?
This sounds terrible.
the
What is
best.
this?
It's fun. Camp is the best. Camp's the best.
Hannah's going to take you camping,
because
Mackenzie.
we used to do competitive cloud watching.
Cloud watching?
Competitive cloud watching.
But what made it
And trust me, that was the
competitive?
most fun. Just that we would, I don't know.
She doesn't
not wanna
know.
be playing
she,
soccer.
She literally just made that up. Let's carry on.
We just wanted to gossip. We just wanted to lay on the ground and gossip about boys like Drew is what we wanted to
exactly.
do at camp.
See, Hannah gets the dynamic here.
And also camp, so you're there for a week. We used to say that an hour feels like a day and a day feels like a week
Yep.
at camp.
Absolutely.
So if you meet somebody and you're dating for 3 days, that's like, oh, we've been dating for 3 weeks. Like it just is so much more intense.
So this Drew guy coming in is like, oh, that's super exciting then. Okay, it makes more sense.
Right,
now.
because you spend 24 hours a day together. It's not like you have separate living spaces to go hide away in or spend time in. Like everybody's together all the time. There is no boundary building. Like you just
nobody
can't.
has any secrets.
Exactly.
None. I am about to have a lot of travel coming up. It's summer, so some of it is fun. 4th of July, going to my boyfriend's family's in Michigan. Gonna pretend like I know how to do water sports. Long story short, I'm excited because of my Base weekender bag. So Base is a travel company. They've got everything you could want, you know, luggage, amazing bags, purses, accessories. It's just the cutest, most practical luggage I've ever had. And when I tell you, I feel so different about traveling since I got this weekender bag. So it's a large bag, like heavy a carry-on, tote bag, but the bottom is a separate compartment that's perfect for shoes, perfect for something you don't want to get crushed, just separate. And then they have a version that you can even take that off if you didn't want it. But the bag is so spacious. It's structured, so it's not like going to collapse on me if I don't have a bunch of stuff in it. I love that. I love when they kind of like stand up on their own. You know what I mean? And it's just thought of everything. It has the thing that goes on your suitcase, but then you can zip up the bottom of it so it can turn into a pocket if you're not using it. My airport anxiety, no more. And I'm one of those people that gets stressed at the airport. I would like to be there early. My boyfriend is like, I want to just walk right on the plane. And I'm like, well, cool, let's compromise and get there early and do it my way. And he does. But this bag makes our relationship better because I'm less stressed. But Base is awesome. And it was created by actress Shay Mitchell. I love her. She is a very, I don't know, just a cool person. She was on Pretty Little Liars, if you know that show. And it's just affordable. It really is. And it feels like luxury. bags, luggage, accessories to help you travel everywhere you want to go this summer. And right now, Base is offering our listeners 15% off your first purchase by visiting basetravel.com/TDD. Go to basetravel.com/TDD for 15% off your first purchase. That's BEIS travel.com/TDD. I'm so glad that they are supporting us, and all of the ad information is in the show notes. This episode is supported by Miracle Made, our favorite sheets ever. We love them and we've gotten to talk about them a lot. I just had some guests at my apartment. Happy Pride, by the way. My roommate had his friends come in for Pride. And I was like, great, stay in my bed. I'm going to be out of town for the weekend. Go for it. And I washed my sheets and I changed my sheets and I put on my Miracle Made sheets. And they commented afterwards. They were like, what are these sheets? They're so soft. They're so cute. They were just great. And I was like, it's Miracle Made, and also use my code. I've become that person. But I just want to help you guys get great sheets, and I have a code. Miracle Made, there's nothing like them. They're inspired by NASA, which is very cool. They use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulated. So if you're a hot sleeper, it's going to cool you down. If you are freezing, it's going to regulate. It's perfect for both of you. If you and the person you are sleeping with have different temperatures, this will save that. This will make it easier. I'm also truly obsessed with the fact that they are self-cleaning antibacterial bedding. I don't even understand how it works, but I've noticed a difference. You're really sleeping on so much bacteria. These are they prevent up to 99.7% of bacteria growth, and they require up to 3 times less laundry. They're self-cleaning. They're self-cooling. They're designed for your skin. That's a huge thing with the bacteria. It doesn't clog your pores because we sleep, on these pillows that are like making us get acne and break out. And they're really comfortable and soft. So you should go to trymiracle.com/TDD to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo TDD at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product that it's backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll just get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/TDD and use the code TDD to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/TDD to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. So what's he doing free time?
So at free time, now that we've digressed way off track.
Sorry, y'all. Sorry, it's my fault.
No, it's good. Everybody, if people didn't go to camp, they have to understand the intensity of the relationship.
Extremely important. So at free time, he has his hammock strung up in the middle of 2 trees in the middle of the field everywhere. And he's reading a book, which we're teenagers. We don't read books. And of all the books.
That's so angsty, Holden Caulfield.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Catcher in the Rye, just like the classic angsty teen boy that's trying to be cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's exactly it. Wants to be mysterious, has a little air of mystery about them because you don't know them. They're the new kid in town. And so I walk up to him because I, being the 4.0 academic student with a very high opinion of my own academics at the time with my teenage arrogance, I guess, walk up to him and I want to know what he's reading. And I kind of want to test him a little bit on it to see if he's really reading it or if he's doing it to,
trying to look cool.
Right. Get people to pay more attention to him since he's the new kid. And so I go up to him and it turns out what he's reading is a psychology book and a psychology, it's not really a textbook, but it's definitely more of an informative, informational learning material type book. It's not a fun
And he's
read.
your age.
Yeah, he's 17 too.
Okay.
So he's reading this book and I start asking him questions, just, the typical oh, what you reading? What's your favorite part? And so he starts telling me, yeah, I want to be a clinical psychologist when I grow up. And I was like, oh, so you must be good at school then. He's like, yeah, school's really important to me. All the things that I wanted all this time.
That was a boy.
The week continues. And so he continues giving me compliments and he starts doing this thing where he remembers little things about me. And there was this one thing in particular that was like really weird that he just stuck on, but I, for whatever reason at the time, found it super flattering. And that thing was he would remember all of the different injuries that I had, because I was still dealing with the head trauma. And I had a ton of,
I'm sorry. What?
I know. Looking back, it's really weird, but now we have the luxury of
I mean, you say you have no self-esteem. Like me at that age, I would have just thrown myself at him because I would have been like, this is the only
I guess that's a good point, because I probably would have too. Yeah.
That I would have, any kind of attention like that would have blown my mind.
I was excited because I was like, not only is he complimenting me all the time, but he's remembering things. He'd be like, I remember, like, he would say things like, how's your knee doing today? We had a pretty tough hike. I know it kind of hurts, or it sometimes hurts.
Oh, that's fresh. Okay.
Right, like, so it wasn't in like
so
a creepy weird way where he'd be like, hey, remember that ankle injury from, you know, when you were 7?
He's not like listing it randomly.
7.
Right? Oh my God.
It's like he's doing it in ways that are like kind of impressive. And so it kind of continues to build upon like, oh, he is really smart. Oh, he does remember a lot about me. Oh, he actually cares. So the week drags on forever. As you said, Hannah, like a day is a year. A year is a week is a millennia. So we finally get to the end of the week and everybody goes their separate ways. But before then, we get our phones back, which we haven't had this whole time. So we exchange phone numbers. And then I think it was like the day after camp, he ended up coming over to my house because he lived like only an hour away from where I lived in rural Vermont. And he was out by the city. But he came over and he brought me this big bouquet of flowers and was like, will you please go out on a date with me? And was like, so cute. And I had never had that before.
Oh my gosh.
That's cute.
Right? So I was...
Also, can I just address, you said that there was like a self-esteem issue. And this is just coming from me personally, because I know like how that's, when someone brings you flowers, you're like, what's your motive? Like, I don't trust you. Did you feel that way? Or were you like, oh, this is so nice?
At that point, I felt really excited about it because I had kind of gotten past the I don't trust you anymore phase, like towards the end of camp. Because
so you got to know him a little bit.
Right, because although it was only a week, we spent 24 hours every day of the week together. So it was like I had so much time to ask him all of the questions that would have made me more hesitant or thrown up red flags. But I also didn't have enough time to really uncover anything that would have like really
been a red flag.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, if you've both have been going to the same camp, even different sessions, you mentioned camp was like a safe space. It's kind of like a shared background.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, we both have a similar understanding of our values, of our culture, of our friend group.
Yeah.
Right? That feels like it eliminates
That's a good
layer.
point too. Yeah.
Right. And plus, remember, he goes to this super affluent school in the city. So his this reputation of the school is that they're the best of the best. They had a ton of like Harvard University professors and like they were like a prep school, all of their students. And this is a public school, by the way. It's not even a private school, and this is their reputation. So
okay, so you were like, this guy is like creme de la creme.
He's got to be legit, right? Like he goes to a rich kid's school. He lives in the city. He knows, you know, the church stuff, the camp stuff. Like, what else could I possibly be looking for in my check boxes?
And he reads.
Right?
He can read.
Which is tough for teenage boys.
In this economy.
Right? So we end up dating and we start going out. And there's a few things I learned right away that in hindsight, maybe they were a little bit of a red flag, but I also wouldn't inherently call these things red flags because some of it's circumstance. So the first thing and most obvious thing that I noticed immediately was he didn't have a driver's license. And we're 17 in Vermont. You can get your license starting at 15, 16. So I normally, like my friends all had their licenses, but he lives in the city. I live out in the country. So it kind of makes sense to me that he doesn't have a license yet because he doesn't really need one anywhere he goes. He doesn't have to drive.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have a license, doesn't have a car. But he also lives an hour away from me. So this ultimately means I end up going to him all the time. But
now, if they're grown-ups and not teenagers and they don't have a license, usually that's a big red flag.
Right. So the second thing was that his dad, complete deadbeat, like absentee father. He lived with his dad full time. His biological mother was not at all in the picture. And he does have an ex-stepmom, but she is like a super busy lawyer. And his parents, dad and ex-stepmom, are obviously broken up at this point. So like she lives way out in the state somewhere else. And he's not really, like he sees her on a regular basis, like maybe once a month or so. But it's not like he's living with her under her influence or jurisdiction of any kind. She doesn't have any say over anything he does. So like she tries to help him where she can, but really it's ultimately up to his dad, who doesn't care. He just wants to go get high.
Oh, God.
So he doesn't come from the best situation. But like I had a dad that was a little bit similar to that. So I kind of related to it rather than freaked out about it, you know? The difference, though, was I had a mom in the picture and he didn't. And then the last little piece of it was just that he lived an hour away, which like I kind of sort of knew that because I knew what school he went to. But the way that the districts border, it could have been that he was on the closer side or it could have been that he was on the further side. And he happened to be like in the dead middle. So he wasn't like 30 to 45 minutes. He was like 50 to an hour. So again, with him not having a license, which I did not know prior to camp ending, that ended up meaning that I, the one with the license in the car, was going to him all the time. But so none of this bothers me at the time. I'm just excited to get attention because I've got no friends, nothing to do, and all this free time on my hands as a senior. And school's about to start, and I'm just really excited to have someone to hang out with again. So I start going and hanging out with him pretty regularly. We see each other like at least once a week. And it was really exciting for me at first, coming from this tiny little farm, rural town, going to see him in the city, because I had never really spent time in the city outside of like school field trips. So
is this platonic at this point, or are you guys kissing? Like, is there, so you guys are like kind of dating a little bit?
We're definitely dating, but we're not.
Okay.
So I was very religiously conservative. So at the time, so I did not want to do anything, you know.
But he went to Christian camp, so you can be confident that he probably gets it more.
Right.
Maybe. Okay, boys. She's making a face for the people at home. I had hopes.
Nah.
I had hopes he would respect, but
stay tuned. We'll get there. So we're, you know, like we're in a high school relationship, like holding hands and, you know, kissing and like the typical stuff. Nothing promiscuous though, because I'm very, like I said, I'm a very solid decision maker. I stand my ground. I don't ever go past my own boundaries. But every weekend or like going out into the city, we're walking out or taking the train in, we get to go walk around the shops. He buys me all these things, which I was super pumped. Also, we're from a poor farm town and he's from like the rich city kids. Like I'm super excited.
Where do you get the money? Did his dad?
We'll come back to that one too.
Okay. Okay.
So we start hanging out. He's buying stuff for me, which is like a new territory for me. I'm super excited. Walkable city. I'm going there all the time. He's still bombarding me with compliments. And the best part about all of it was that there's no parents anywhere because his dad's never around. I'm an hour away from my mom. So this is like a total newfound freedom. And for me, who is having all these like emotional regulation issues, like just having something that's not negative was like the biggest high, because I had gone through like, it was like I got hit with like the tornado of crap for like an entire year. And this was like a big highlight. So this was super exciting because also not only was I free from like the commitments and burdens of like the school year and all this other stuff, but I also had the freedom from my parents to do with my time what I wanted for the first time, because I was far enough away from them that they weren't going to just jump in and stop me from, you know, like going out when I wanted to go out or call me in when I needed to come in. I mean, I had a curfew, don't get me wrong, but like, I mean, I wasn't going to stay. Like my curfew was like 10:30 or something, and an hour of that had to be a commute. So it was, you know, it was typical.
Yeah, you're doing day trip, wholesome kind of happy teenage love affair, summer loving.
So the school year starts, and this is where things start to get like a little bit shaky. We have our first real argument, and that was about 3 months into the relationship. I went over on a Friday. Now, I almost always went over on Saturdays, and I remember I'm still really behind on schoolwork. I still miss school regularly for my head injuries. I'm still like trying to kind of make things up as I'm missing school, and keep things up, and I'm a little bit more on pace this year. So I'm not like having to spend all my time doing homework anymore, but I'm also still like trying to stay on top of it because I know at any minute I could be out for a week. So it's a Friday, and my household, where my parents are strict, is you do your homework and then you can do what you want. And I personally, like, even being an adult, like, I thought that was a great policy because, like, taking a break is good and all, but like, if I take a break, I'm not going back to it. It's not happening.
That's what my son does. He does his homework first and then you can play.
Right.
Yeah.
So nothing weird there. But, and I'm like the straight A student, so this appeals to me anyways. I mean, it's a good structure for me.
You were like, thank you.
So
I'd love to.
Exactly. So I go over on Friday and I have this expectation, like, we're going to do what we have to do and then we're going to go have fun. Well, I get there and he doesn't want to do any homework. He's like, well, just skip it. We're going to go out. And I was like, but I can't just skip it. I need to get it done. And he's like, well, get it done later. And I was like, I can't do that. Like, it has to get done right now. I'm very anal about my schedule and it has to be this way or it doesn't happen. Especially because with the head injury, like, the later in the day it got, the less clear I got and the harder it was for me to like actually sit down and focus on things. So I was like, I need to get this done right now. He was like, my ex never pressured me to do homework or schoolwork. You shouldn't do that either.
That's not what you were saying.
Right.
You were saying you wanted to do your homework.
So I was very, confused because I, this whole time, have been under the impression that he's also extremely studious. So why does he not? I mean, at first I'm thinking, well, maybe it's just not his typical schedule. But at the same time, like, why do we have to bring an ex-girlfriend into this?
Yeah, like, what the crap?
So
shut up.
I might have low self-esteem at this point, but I have really high standards because of my low self-esteem.
Thank you. I feel this in my soul.
So I stand up and I'm like, you know what? If that's the way you're going to think about this, I don't think this relationship's going to work anymore. So I beeline it for the door and he stops me and he's like, wait, I really didn't mean it. And I'm like, I'm sure you didn't now that I said I'm leaving.
Right. You got caught.
Right. And so
I stood up to you.
So he starts like word vomiting apologies and everything that he can think of to say, like, I'm so sorry. I didn't really mean it. I wasn't thinking. I was just really frustrated. I've had a stressful week. All the excuses, all of them. And I don't know how, but he somehow calmed me down enough to convince me to stay. And of course, it's like under the promise of something along the lines of like, it'll never happen again, that kind of thing.
Sure, of course.
So I was like, well, I've always been of the mindset that it's not okay to give second chances because that's how my mom is to me. But maybe because it's so great not being in that, like, now that I'm kind of a little bit away from that environment, maybe I should try something different. So
that's interesting.
I stayed. And that was like the moment I should have left because it all goes downhill from here.
You guys, let's talk about Delete Me. Okay. Have you or someone you know been the victim of identity theft, or have you been harassed, scammed, or just honestly kind of annoyed by the spam and the robocalls? Listen, privacy matters. Our personal information is everywhere on the internet. Trust me, I know from a PI herself, your information is everywhere. And as humans, we are just easy targets, but we can protect ourselves and get peace of mind with Delete Me.
It's crazy how much is out there.
So much.
I mean, it's great sometimes when you want to look up a dogfish, but I don't want it out there for me.
Yeah. For the safety of our listeners, I love Delete Me just because it kind of gives you a way to...
It's that step in just making sure you know what's out there about yourself.
Yeah. So basically what Delete Me does is they find and remove any personal information you don't want online and they make sure that it stays off. So it's like a subscription service. It removes all your personal info from literally the largest people search databases on the web. And so basically they sell your information and then that's why they charge you if you want to look somebody up. And they're like $2.99 and you can get extra information. These are from data brokers. So Delete Me will help remove all of those things.
Wow. And it's, a first step. So I like that it works for you because you just get these updates and check-ins. And it's definitely great for so many people who have come on our podcast who feel like they just need an extra level of protection.
That's why I personally recommend Delete Me. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/TDD and use promo code TDD at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is go to joindeleteme.com/TDD and enter code TDD at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/TDD, code TDD.
Summer is here. Time for a little change up in the fashion department.
Yes.
Let's talk about Quince very quickly. We love Quince. It's the best place to get luxury without paying luxury prices for fashion. Too much fast fashion out there. And I feel like anytime I buy something from a fast fashion place, I have to throw it out like a week later.
That's so true.
It like falls apart, or if it's white, it's not white.
Forget it. Oh my God. Forget it on the white.
No more.
I'm a self-tanner girl. I can't do the white.
No, God. Literally, Mackenzie right now has a self-tan on and it looks amazing. Don't sit on anything, but it looks great.
I know.
Oh my God. Well, don't wear your Quince clothes right now because they're amazing and we want to preserve them. And what did you get?
The summer basics are amazing, the tanks and the dresses, but I really, really love their jewelry options and the shoes. Like they have literally everything, luggage, travel. Oh my God, so much.
True. They really do. I also got something that I didn't show you last time. Okay, this is my Apple Watch. I'm showing Mackenzie. Look at this band that I got from Quince.
It's a watch band. Oh, I forgot they had those.
Yeah, so Apple Watch bands are so expensive, but they got like the best selection on Quince for way, way less. And this I get so many compliments on this. It's like silver, gold, kind of the classic band. But if I'd gotten it at Apple, it would have been like 4 times the price.
Yeah, and the same, like I was saying about their jewelry, I love really pretty jewelry, and they have like 14 karat gold jewelry, Italian leather bags, and the prices are really reasonable. So much better than you would get from other stores, like classic, timeless styles that won't go out of fashion. You know what I mean? Like things you could hold on to forever.
Absolutely. I also have a bag that my mom has the designer version, and I have the Quince version, and I spent way less and it's just as good, if not better. I'm like, So the way that Quince does this is that they partner directly with top factories to cut out the cost of the middleman. And then they pass those savings right on to you, which is genius. I don't think I need to spend an extra $100 just to have a little tiny letter in the corner of the thing I got if it's the same value. So I love that. And they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, responsible manufacturing practices, eco-friendly fabrics and finishes. So I feel pretty good about it too. So upgrade your closet this summer with Quince. Right now, go to quince.com/TDD to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. That's QUINCE.com/TDD for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TDD. And don't worry, we'll put all the info in the show notes. And you should let us know what you get and send us pictures and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I need to know what you guys get. And just to clarify, what your mom says, don't give second chances. One quote that I often try to live by is, when someone shows you their true colors, believe them the first time. Done. That's it. You know what I mean? So I totally get the no second chance thing. But also, this is the first time you guys fought, right?
Yep, the very first time.
Yeah. So it's kind of benefit of the doubt, and you wanted to do something different. Okay.
Right.
That makes sense.
There's also the element that okay, you tell someone your expectations and then give them a chance to meet them. And if you don't meet them.
That's yes.
But before that's been clarified, although I do feel like what he did was something he should have known was not a nice thing to say. It's so tricky. I hope you don't feel bad having made any choice that you made at your 17-year-old vulnerable state, because everybody can relate to that place.
So what happened after you stayed? Was everything okay after that?
After my threat to leave, he ended up backing down and just kind of settling with the "we're going to do our homework now" idea. And No.
You're such a bad influence, Clara.
Right? How
Jeez,
dare you.
making him do his homework.
Doing the right thing. What a jerk.
So, and remember, this is like 3 months or more into the relationship at this point. Like, we're well into the school year at this point. So it's not like we've only been together for a few weeks. Like, it's been a while. So to just, at that point, I'd just come out of a 3-year relationship, but it's still a high school relationship. It's basically been my whole life.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
So time goes on. Things are still fine for a while. We continue our normal charade of like, let's go out on town. Let's go do stuff. He buys me things. He compliments me. And his compliments, I have to add, are way over the top. And again,
hit us with one.
It's more of a demonstrative type of thing rather than like a words type of thing. So for example, I got dressed up for us to go to dinner. And when I say dressed up, I mean like a sweater and a skirt rather than jeans. So like nothing.
That's my dressed up too. It's fine.
Like I am, again, farm town. Like I don't do fancy. So
same girl.
I get dressed up and I come out of the bathroom like after I got changed and he literally falls on the floor and makes such a big deal out of it. He's like, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. I'm weak in the knees. I can't stand up anymore.
He's a cheese ball.
Yeah. And I was living for it because I had not had anybody on my side for so long. And it was like, I just got cheated on. Like, I want somebody who worships me.
But part of you at the same time, you're like, oh my God, he's being silly. But also,
stop. But also, don't stop.
Yes, exactly. Right?
Precisely. So, like, things are still going great as far as I'm concerned. And one weekend during our usual, escapades of going out into town, he's like, let's go meet up with my friend group at the big mall that's in town. And I was like, okay, that sounds like fun.
Had you met his friend group before?
I had not. So this is my first introduction to his friends. I meet his friend group, the head of this friend group, like the dynamic of it is very, like there's one girl, her name is Layla, and she is clearly like the boss of the friends, all of them, him included.
The Regina George.
She's the boss bitch.
Exactly. Like she calls the shots. They do what she wants to do. They go where she wants to go. And that's it. And she is pretty. She is funny. She's just like super carefree, happy kind of person. And like everything that I always wanted to be. So I was like, I'm cool with it. Like she seems legit. Like I'm a girl.
Were you intimidated by her or were you?
I don't think intimidated is the right word, but I definitely like immediately was like, that's someone that I would follow. Not because she just has like a leadership personality necessarily, but more so because like I admired the way that she presented herself.
She was like charismatic.
Okay. Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very charismatic, very outgoing, and like I'm here for her because I'm a girl's girl. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, totally.
And I didn't have any girlfriends that I really hung out with all the time because my best friend from my hometown, who I didn't play soccer with, she was off to college because she was a year ahead of me and I'm a senior in high school. So she's not around. And then, everybody else was gone because they were playing soccer and I couldn't anymore. So I just didn't spend time with them because they were always busy. So I was like, this is exciting. I'm going to have a friend that's a girl. But we go to the mall, to this store that is like a super cheap, popular store. And like when I say cheap, I mean like a bra is like $3 cheap. It's got a lot of cute stuff in there, but like it's all dirt cheap. So it's like something a high schooler could easily afford with our part-time jobs. And we're going through this store and Layla is walking around and she's putting things in her bag. And I'm like, why don't you get a basket? And she's like, because why would I do that? Then they're going to know that I'm taking it.
Oh, she's stealing. She's stealing. She's a thief.
So Layla is like, pick something out and you can take it too. And I was like, no, I don't think I want to do that. And she was like, why? And she starts getting really aggressive. She's like calling me a priss, like you're too much of a pussy to steal with us. Like you just want to ruin the vibe. Yeah. And so her and all her buddies are stealing stuff and like they're trying to get me to steal with them. And I was just like, you know what? I have a future ahead of me. I don't want to. I'm not.
Like no freaking thing.
I'm not playing with this.
It's also not worth it for a $3 shirt.
Right. Like if you're going to steal something that's worth stealing.
But a lot of people steal because it's like an actual it's a thing. Like it's like an addiction kind of. Yeah.
For her, definitely.
Even rich people. Yeah.
So
Control.
I'm like,
Yes.
you know what? I don't want to be a part of this. If for some reason they do get caught, because we're in like a huge mall, like there's got to be.
Then that screws you too forever.
Right. There's got to be like cameras everywhere. I'm like, I don't want to be seen with these people if they get caught with this, because I'm just going to be guilty by association.
Yep.
So I go stand outside and I'm like, you know what? You guys take your time, do whatever you want. Like, I don't want to be a part of it. I'm going to go stand outside the store and just wait. I don't care how long you take. Don't wait on me. Like, I'll just be out there doing my thing. So I do. Maybe like 10, 15 minutes later, they come beelining it out of the store. They want to leave in a hurry because obviously they just stole a bunch of stuff.
Busted.
No, they didn't get busted, which like if I could go back in time, I totally would have busted them, but I can't. So we leave, and I, at that point on the walk back, I'm kind of in the back of the friend group, and my boyfriend, Drew, he's standing there with me and he's berating me like on the whole walk back. He's like, I can't believe you made my friend group uncomfortable. Like, you can't not.
Are you joking?
No, he's like, you've got to hang out. Like, if you're going to hang out with us, like, you have to be one of us.
Was he stealing too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So again, I'm kind of confused because I have this image in my mind. Like, he's supposed to be this kid that's like a straight A student and super smart and has a lot. Really, he wants to be a psychologist. You have to go to college for that. You can't have a criminal background to be a clinical psychologist.
Yeah.
So
nope.
I was confused, but I was just like chalking it up and justifying it in my mind. I was saying to myself, you know,
he's young, or
he grew up in a bad home. His dad's not around. He just got in with a bad friend group early, you know, that kind of thing where I'm just
being a kid.
I can fix him.
Right? Exactly. All of the things.
We've all been there.
Yep.
So,
yes,
you know, I'm just thinking, you know, like, we're all going to college. Like, he's gonna like get away from these friends and like find good friends when he's in a good environment, kind of thing. Because, you know, these are just bad influences on him. He doesn't really feel this way. It's just because he wants to fit in with them. And Layla's the queen bee. So everybody does what she does. So it's not his fault that she's like this. So it was just overall kind of a weird situation. But then again, immediately, you know, the next week, it's not even week. It was like the next few days. It was, you know, the presents and the compliments and like things are normal and we're not hanging out with
Would
them.
you say he was love bombing you?
100%.
Okay.
There.
100%.
Good point.
Love bombing is basically like exactly what she's explaining. Like, they compliment you and give you all the gifts and like all like go above and beyond to like be like, look what I'm doing. I love you. Look at all these things.
Like too much too soon.
Yeah.
Major.
Exactly. That's 100% what it was. So the year goes on, it gets to closer to wintertime. And as you know, or many people know, in the winter for high school seniors, it's college applications time. And I'm definitely going to college in my plan. Like, that's what I'm doing. Like, I might be struggling with everything, but I'm going to college. I actually had a full athletic scholarship to Princeton to play sports.
Amazing.
And
how incredible.
It got taken away.
Oh my God.
So all that being said, I still did like early applications and admission processes to other schools. So my family is from Vermont, but they're also from this rural town in Georgia. And that is where there's another large name university that I really wanted to go to. So because my whole family lives in that area, that's my extended family, like my aunts, my grandmoms, cousins, uncles, like, you know, the farm people. And I was really excited about that. So that was like my quote backup. So I applied there and like to their honors program and everything as, you know, in case the Princeton thing didn't work out. And I did end up getting in there. But obviously, my boyfriend wanted to go to college too, because he wanted to be a clinical psychologist, as we know. But his dad, having been absent, didn't want to or know how to help him through college applications. So I decided to help him with that because it's really confusing to go through, like the financial aid stuff and like the setting everything up. And I had done it, and I had done it like twice now. So I was like, I got you. I can help you. So we start going through his college applications. I find out he's not only not a straight A student, he's failing out of high school.
What? Oh my God.
Like, he is like a straight DF student.
What did he say? What was his, had he been kind of Was he just like, what? I never said I was a straight A student, or did he?
So I confronted him about it,
Make
obviously.
excuses, yeah.
And I was like, you told me you really cared about school and that this was really important to you. What the hell have you been doing this whole time? Because this isn't just this year. Your transcript shows you've sucked since freshman year of high school. And it's one thing to like be like a DF student because like you're actually genuinely struggling, or like school's not your thing, or like education system's like not meant for you, like you're a tech student.
But he maybe was just shoplifting.
He just didn't try. The reasons, like when you looked at his transcripts, the reasons he had D's and F's were because he didn't do homework, or he skipped class or school with like gym class he failed.
So the fact is that he lied about it being important to him.
Yep, 100% lied about it. And he said, when I asked him that, he said, oh, well, I only told you those things to get you to like me.
But why does he want you to like him if you're not his people? Like if you're not...
So...
Because he's a crazy man.
Why are we here, Mackenzie?
I don't know. I'll shut up so you can continue. I have so many questions.
So he's not only like saying, oh, I only, said those things to get you to like me. And I was like, okay, but you have to be smart in some capacity because you remembered all these little details about me, right? And like, you were talking about that book and this, that, and the other. And he's like, oh, I didn't actually remember anything about you. I wrote it down and I just referenced my notes before I saw you so that I didn't have to remember it. And he's laughing.
Wait, so he had notes on you?
He had notes. He was taking notes the whole time at camp.
Why did he want you to like him? Why was he going after you if you're not his people, though?
I have no idea. That's a great question that is a mystery to this day.
I mean, maybe he did like you and just wanted to be whatever he needed to be to get you to like him, so he could.
That's like the angle that I took. It was just weird. So he's laughing at me and like saying these things, and I didn't really mean it. I was just looking at notes. Like, why would I take the time to do that? And that's not really my thing anyways. And like, it's all a big joke to him. Like, yeah, I got you. Like, haha.
Oh, now I can show you who I be myself now that I got you. That's awesome.
I remember leaving that day and, I'm thinking about, I sit in my car because like the way that I parked was like around the corner. So he can't see where I'm like, whether I left yet or not from his house, because he has only street parking where he lives. And so I go and I sit in my car and I remember very distinctly, like, what do I do at this point? Because I'm confused. And, we're like halfway through the school year at this point almost. And I'm starting to feel like, I got prom to think about. I'm 18 at this point. Like, that's important, And
we focus on the important stuff.
And I also don't have a lot of people in my corner right now. So I just need someone to be around. And right now, like, yeah, he might have lied about those things, but like he only had a week to catch my attention, and I wasn't giving him the attention that he would have needed if he really was that interested in me. Like he was going above and beyond. Like I justified it in every possible way.
You're like, it's a rom-com where they go try to do whatever they can. They join the same dance class as you to meet you. Like,
yeah, it was,
yeah, which is so creepy. We accept that in rom-coms. It's weird.
Right. I was like living my own fiction story and it didn't make any sense, but I was going to make it make sense. Like there was no convincing me otherwise. And it definitely felt unsettling at the time, but I also had determined to myself, like, I don't have anything to lose anymore. So like, why not just kind of see if this was just like, maybe he's just stressed because of college applications. Maybe it was just because it was a short timeline. Maybe it was just, 100 things. So I decide that I'm just going to kind of like see how things go the rest of the year. So the school year continues a little bit longer. College applications eventually roll back in. We're going to skip ahead a little bit to that, where I ended up getting into the college in Georgia and not Princeton. So I'm committed to going to Georgia. And he, surprise, did not get into any colleges. So he made the decision to go ahead and go out to live with his ex-stepmom, who's like a super successful lawyer who is moving to Ohio and lives in Ohio at this point. So we have our plans to like go separate ways at the end of the school year, but he's like convinced that we're going to do the long distance thing. I'm not really sold on it yet because I'm 18.
Well, no.
I'm like, I'm moving
And
far
he's an
away.
idiot.
Right. So
Yeah.
he is like talking about marriage, talking about like long-term future stuff.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm like,
okay.
I'm not sure about that. It's not, yeah. I'm just kind of like going with the flow, but I'm also not like agreeing, obviously, to like not saying like he was proposing or anything. But I'm not like saying like, yeah, it would be so cool if we got married and had 10 kids. Like I'm nowhere near that. And he's talking about like, when we get married one day, those kind of statements. And I'm just like, no, thank you. So New Year's rolls along, and in Vermont in the winter, as you can imagine, there's a lot of snow. So remember, I'm commuting an hour to see him every weekend.
Oh,
so when it starts snowing outside, I don't want to like never see him, but also like it's starting to get sketchy at night. Like there was this one day in particular when it started snowing unexpectedly. Like we were not expecting the snow to start until like 3-4 in the morning, and it started at like 7:30 p.m. And so I hadn't left yet, but I was kind of thinking maybe it's just a squall and it'll let up and then I can leave. Well, it didn't let up, it got worse. And so he, being the loving and ever caring boyfriend, said, why don't you just spend the night here? Call your mom, convince her to let you stay here because it's too dangerous for you to drive home in this weather. And I was not sure about it at first because, you know, my mom's a helicopter mom. I was like, there's no way. It's not going to happen. And he's like, yeah, but wouldn't she rather have you home safe tomorrow than dead on the road tonight? And I was like, you know, I can't argue with that.
It's a fair point.
You bring good points to the table, and I cannot 100% ignore these. So I call my mom. I say, hey, is it snowing where you're at? It's snowing here already. I didn't expect it to start snowing. And, you know, she does the whole, well, if you leave now, you can maybe make it. And I was like, yeah, but it's only going to get worse. And there's this one road between there and like on the highway, because it's like part back roads, but mostly highway on the way home. And most of that piece of that highway that's always really trafficy is a bridge. And everybody knows when you live in a cold place,
they get icy.
Bridges ice over faster than everything else. So we talk about this bridge, which is always notoriously bad for accidents, traffic, bad merging, all the things. And it's dark outside. And so my mom's like, you know what? This time and this time only, it's okay. So the night rolls in and it's time, like at my parents' house, if there's ever a guest for any reason, no matter who it is, there's a guest room for them. At his house, with his dad not around, I assumed I would sleep on like the couch, or like he would sleep on the couch or something. He's like, no, you're going to sleep in the bed with me in my room. And I was like, okay, I guess. Okay, I guess. So we go to bed in his room. Of course, you know, he's a teenage boy. He tries to pressure me into promiscuous activity. And I, being the super ultra religious conservative person, and he knows my stance, mind you, like he knows why I say the things I say and refuse the things I refuse. Of course, he's like trying to pressure me. And I'm like, no, this is not happening. I will drive in the snow. Stop. And so he stops. And so that ended that. Everything seemed normal. The day continues. I got up the next morning, left, you know, all the good stuff. But that exact snow situation, minus necessarily the surprise of it, continued, where now that it's happened one time where I've stayed over, it's less concerning that I do it again. So now I'm staying over, not every weekend, but like in regular increments to avoid driving in the winter weather. But it's not snowing every time. It's just like dark outside. Or he'll make excuses, like all the different ones, like the lights on the road, or the slippery weather, or like it got extra cold tonight, or there's black ice, or whatever the excuse was. So now I'm staying over there pretty regularly. And my mom is used to it, so she's not really paying attention to it. So she's just kind of letting it ride. And New Year's Eve comes around. And I make plans to stay there. So this is like my first pre-planned stay. And my mom approves it, gives me the okay. And I make plans to stay there, watch the ball drop, come back the next morning so I'm not driving in the midnight, bad weather, all that good stuff. And we settle in for the evening after like a day out on the town, and we make plans to go out and stuff in the evening because there's like a little celebration in the city. But instead, he's like, oh, we're not going out anymore. And I was like, oh.
What are we doing?
So he's like, my dad's having a little party here. Said party was just myself, his dad's girlfriend, him, and his dad. And his
How kind of party is that?
Yeah.
Oh wait, it gets better. His dad
Oh boy.
pulls out the liquor and starts feeding us drinks at 18.
Did you drink? Did you partake? Ooh.
I did.
Oh, okay.
I did partake.
I mean,
He's
at
starting
that
to. He's
age-
starting to like. Well, you're 18. Like I get it. I think that kids are going to be kids, but also like it. You had like these really high standards and these morals, and it seems like little bit he's breaking down a little bit, like and then a little bit, and then a little.
And also, I came from a strict household, and this isn't something that's like I'm religiously against. Like there was nothing about like drinking and my religious beliefs at the time, which I'm not of many of those beliefs anymore, that like of that extreme, but not the point. The point is that I was really excited having come from like this super strict household.
Yeah, you're probably like,
Oh, okay. So you felt
and his
comfortable with it,
dad's
and you're
here.
like,
Yeah.
So there is the kind
like,
of
this
idea
is
of like,
fine. Okay.
And I was like, and I'm staying
Yeah, we're not
here,
gonna get caught.
so I'm not driving, and this is super cool. Like I'm a cool kid now. Like I'm an adult. I'm a real adult. But I had never, ever, ever had alcohol before, and I got plastered. And his dad got really crossfaded because he's drunk off his ass, and he goes to the other room with his girlfriend to do whatever. And so after his dad's gone, who, you know, shouldn't have been feeding us alcohol anyways at 18, my boyfriend Drew, he starts continuing to feed me alcohol, and I'm already drunk at this point. So like he's just continuing the party, and I'm all for it because I've totally lost all sense of self and whatever's going on. And so I eventually am like, I'm too drunk. I need to go to bed right now. So I go into the room and I go into the bed to go to bed. And he comes in there and he sexually assaults me because I'm totally inebriated and not, you know, I didn't even know who I was, let alone what was going on.
But you do remember it happening. Like you remember it was okay.
Very vividly. And I remember being confused at first, thinking, oh, maybe he's helping me like change out of my day clothes into my pajamas or something. But that was not what he was doing, which I very quickly after that realized, but was too drunk to do anything about. And so I, the next morning, felt horrible about it. I felt so guilty. I felt like it was just the worst thing I had ever done. I was so torn up about it because it was my belief. Like it wasn't someone else telling me that, like I believed it. And so I just was distraught. And after that, the sleepovers continued because he would continue to manipulate me in ways of like, well, now that you've lost that purity, like it's gone. You know, he would like guilt me into it. He continued to guilt me into letting him assault me, saying like, if you don't do this, you don't love me anymore. And if you don't, like, it doesn't matter now because it's too late for you anyways with this. And
that erodes your self-esteem even more, saying like this belief and value.
So he steals your virginity and then says, now that your virginity is gone, you might as well keep doing
it. 100%.
You're not worth holding that standard.
100%.
That's what he's telling you. Oh my God.
So he's like, you've already lost it. You're now impure. Like you might as well keep doing it. And I am so crushed about it. I just let it happen. And so I just decide like I've checked out of the relationship emotionally at that point because, you know, I'm continuing to be assaulted regularly because none of this is ever something where he's like, hey, let's do it. And I'm like, yeah, never happened. It was always coerced 100% of the time. And so I just decide I'm going to coast until the year's over. Like, I just want to get out of this year and, you know, go to college and then it'll all be over with and done. I find out like a month or two into these assaults taking place on a regular basis that one time when I was asleep, he took pictures of me naked with no consent. And so he showed them to me from like across the room the next day on his phone. He comes in and he shows me these pictures of me like very vulnerable. And that's an added layer of like, I really can't leave now because he'll send these to everybody. So, you know, I was like, I can't let that happen. Like, I've got to make sure this stays under wraps. Like, I don't want people, and I'm still blaming myself. Like, I believed him 100%.
Yeah. The first thing you said to us was, I woke up feeling like I had done the worst thing I'd ever done.
Exactly.
You didn't do a thing.
Yeah. It was,
but you don't,
all me in my head at the time. I didn't, it took me until I was 22 or so to realize that it was assault. It took me a very long time, even after I was out of this situation, that it was that. So,
because it wasn't violent, it wasn't in a dark alley. It's not, you're not getting punched in the face and being forced to do stuff.
You're in a relationship. And a lot of people say, well, we're in a relationship, so how can there be?
That was exactly it.
Consent just by,
I was 100% it. And the exact thing that kept me from believing that it was rape was that I was like, I could have punched him or kicked him or pushed him off of me, but I just let it happen. So it is my fault. Like, that was my mindset. And being in like a conservative little town.
That's so common.
Yeah. And being in a conservative town, like, they don't talk about things like this happening. Like, things like that don't happen where we're from, as far as the people are concerned. So there's no, like, we had like sex ed in school, but we didn't have like, hey, here's how people use this against you, or these are ways to stay safe for yourself. It was just like, sex make baby bad for teenager. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Now go about your merry way.
So then it makes you wonder if like, well, that wasn't really rape. Like, you just question yourself because you're like, well, it couldn't really be rape because, you know.
Yep.
That's awful. Awful.
So
I'm so sorry that happened to you.
On top of all of these things that he's like stacked up against me, he eventually tells my brother, who's 15, like just one day when he's at my house, like one of the rare occurrences, he starts bragging to my brother about how we did it and how much I liked it and all these things. And I'm furious and appalled and disgusted because I'm like, he's 15. First of all, why are you telling a 15-year-old about things like that, let alone about his sister? Like, he doesn't want to know
sister,
that.
Yeah.
I want to punch him. This whole time I've wanted to punch him.
It was gross. And I was like, even if he was your buddy, but still my brother, that would be weird to talk about. I don't know what made you think that that was okay at any point. And he was just like, well, you know, we're just friends and you can't tell me what to talk about with my friends. It was just a control thing. That's all it was another layer of the control. And my brother was 15, so he was an asshole. So it was gonna be like, well, if you say something, like, I'll tell mom kind of thing. Mom. And it was like, well, who's gonna believe me? There's 2-on-1 here. So all this time, like, I still have a brain injury. I'm still having issues with emotional regulation. Nobody notices any kind of emotional change in me because they just chalk it up to the brain injury or stress from being behind in school or stress from being out of the soccer team and having no friends at the time or whatever the case was. Like, nobody took the time to be like, hey, you seem a little bit off. It was just like another day. And so that was just like my constant existence for the rest of the school year. And that's just how it continued to be. My main emotion at this time was just like numbness because I didn't recognize it as assault. So I was rationalizing all of it, but I also felt wrong about it because part of me wanted to be like, oh, this assault, which at the time I just considered to be like an intimate relationship, I was like, this should be a good thing because now I'm like an adult and this person is supposed to mean a lot to me. Like, now I'm connected to this person because now I have to be connected to this person because I gave them this purity of mine that was supposed to be sacred. But the other side of it was I didn't really want to give him that. I still don't really want him to have that, but I can't take it back now. So part of me is feeling like, well, I did this. This is my fault. So I should feel good about it. But the other part of me is like, but I don't feel good about it. And I don't know why. I didn't know what was wrong. So I felt guilty about having done something that I didn't do. And I also felt guilty about feeling bad about something that I didn't do. So it was just like, I didn't know how to feel. I didn't have anyone to talk through it with really at the time. And I was spending all of my spare time either with him or doing homework. So I had no way of rationalizing any of the emotions I was feeling And any of like the overt negativity, like the crying or like the typical like symptoms of somebody who's actively in an assault situation, like everybody was just saying, oh, that's just the concussion, you know? So my plan at this point to get out of it was, I know that he's going to Ohio. I'm going to Georgia. We'll just go our separate ways. I'll have fun for now. And then that'll be it. Like, this doesn't have to be serious. But also,
I'll just get through
right.
it until
But also, I don't want to break up with him suddenly and piss him off because he's got these photos of me that I don't want going out to anybody, that I didn't want him to have in the first place. So time goes on, we graduate high school, and we both get a job for the summer back at camp where we met, because now we're old enough to be on staff as counselors as opposed to being campers. So we go to summer camp as counselors. It's super exciting for both of us. This is like my one safe place. I'm super pumped to be back there. All of our friends from last summer were there as on staff too, but we're both at camp. But so we do these day camp programs to increase future campership. And so when you're on day camp, you're not at overnight camp for the full week. And each counselor, they'll send you in like groups of 4 to 8, and you'll do a rotation on day camp, and everybody does one rotation in the summer, and then they don't have to do it again. I drew the lucky stick of going on day camp week 1. So the very first week of the summer, I went out on day camp where I was separated from everybody. And again, overnight camp, there's like, the counselors have their phones, but there's no cell phone reception. And you're in the woods anyways. You don't really have time to be sitting around texting. Like, you're building fires, you're going on hikes, you're making sure kids don't kill each other, you're making sure other things don't kill kids. Like, there's a lot.
It's Mackenzie's heaven.
Right. Like, there's bears there. Like, you don't, you don't leave kids unattended. So point being, like, I'm not really communicating with anybody at main camp during this week. Well, this whole week, he spends talking to all of our mutual friends, telling them all of these horrible things I've said about them and spreading all of these rumors. And the day I get back, he's like, you need to hear all of these terrible things that your lifelong friends have been saying about you behind your back while you're gone.
What? The isolation.
Yep.
He's telling me all of these horrible, awful, heinous things that my best friends from my whole life, my last group of friends, have said about me behind my back. And my friends don't want to talk to me because I've allegedly said all these things about them behind their back throughout the year.
He is totally isolating.
So as if I didn't have enough friends to begin with no friends from sports anymore, no friends from school anymore because now we're out of high school, no friends from college yet because we haven't gotten that far, other friends off at her college, so we're...
All you have is him now.
All I have is him.
And no cell service.
No cells.
So even if you did have other friends, you couldn't talk to them.
Forget it, yeah.
Yep. So it was psychological warfare from day one that first summer.
Did you find out at all that he had lied about your gossip towards your friends, or nobody like wanted to talk to you so you couldn't even find out?
I had no idea.
Wow. So you're just like...
None idea.
Randomly they hate me.
Yeah. I felt like everybody had been fake friends with me my entire life. I felt like I had not known everything that I had ever known. Because the things he would say were not totally unbelievable. Like, he wouldn't come into me and say, like, your best friend of 100 years has said that, like, she actually secretly hates you and she's just been pretending this whole time. Like, it wasn't like crazy stuff. It was like, yeah, she said you can be really annoying and like you get on her nerves really often.
Yeah, you picked at the stuff that you were already insecure about, I'm sure.
Right, exactly. And again, low self-esteem, I'm not going to go double check him because I'm afraid of them reinforcing the negative things he's said to me about me.
Aww.
So
he stays close enough to what you think could be the truth to make it believable.
Exactly. I just accepted that I didn't really have the friends that I thought I had and went through the summer like that for the most part. But he, on top of this, he decided, I guess, to clamp down on the control. So at the camp, we had 24 hours off every week. That was it. And it was when the campers left on Saturday morning until they came back on Sunday at noon. And so during that time, my parents lived about 2 hours away. So I would go back to them and I would do my laundry there because otherwise you're fighting for one laundry machine between 60 counselors and support staff. And that's a long,
that's stressful.
It's a lot. So when I had my 24 hours, I was gone. I was going to my parents' house to do my laundry, to like take my showers so I could shower, not in an outdoor shower spigot that was open to the elements. Like I wanted a real like luxury life of basic human things that we have.
Certainly makes you appreciate. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what he started doing from like the second week of the summer was anytime I would go to leave for my parents' house, he would get in the car with me and go with me. And at first I was like uninvited.
You just like open the door and sit down?
Came into the car, sat with me, was like, okay, let's go now. And I'd be like, oh, okay. And for the first like week or two, I was like, okay, whatever. Like, he's my boyfriend.
Fine,
but then after 2 weeks, I was like, all right, I'm sick of seeing your face. I live with you. We're not married.
Yeah, great.
Right. But I also didn't say anything because this is like my last friend. I don't want to lose my last friend. So...
And you're still, even if it's subconscious, it sounds like scared of him.
So I was like starting to try and avoid him a little bit. And it got to the point where I would try to get to my car, but he would wait for me in my car or sit on top of the hood and wait for me to walk up. And one week I even decided to, like, I saw him and I was like, you know what? He's not coming with me this week. I'm going to go find something else to do for an hour and then come back. He was still there when I came back.
Shut up. Are you serious?
Just camped out and waited for me.
He's a stage 5 clinger.
It was intense. And I was just like, I can't, it was a lot. And at this point, because I'm with him so often, I'm bickering and I'm like, we're nitpicking at each other. We're,
like, take a hint, fella.
Yeah. And it was,
for real.
It was just annoying. And at the same time though, like the love bombing's continuing and it became this cycle of like nitpick, love bomb, nitpick, love bomb. But also,
when he would love bomb you at that time, did you still like that? Or by that time, were you like, okay, you're done? Like, were you desensitizing to it?
I was pretty over it, to be completely honest. I was not falling for it. Because also, this whole time at camp, he's trying to coerce me into more assaults. But I'm like, this is my last place of sacredness. And it's like a holy place to me. I don't care what you say to me. I don't care what you think, how much, I've already lost it or whatever. I'm not doing that here. It's not happening.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So he, again, like I'm starting to kind of gain myself back. So he's taking liberties wherever he can. He went so far as to invite himself on my family's vacation to Georgia.
What?
Came with us for a week. Because the week of the 4th of July, nobody's at the camp. They do like a family camp thing. So I went on a vacation with my family. And he just went with us because it wasn't like we had plane tickets or anything. We drove because my family's there.
So he was like, hi.
Mm-hmm. Just got in the car.
Oh my god.
So he's just like, all willy-nilly, I'm coming with you.
Mm-hmm.
What a...
Yep, just got in the car.
Did your parents, I mean, I know they weren't super involved, but did they at this point have an opinion of him? They liked him. They didn't really seem to care. Like how
Any
did it
questions
feel like?
that they asked? Like,
their emotional...
Nothing.
Awareness of anything, absolute zero. They did not ask. They did not want to know. They were so wrapped up in their own marital problems, they didn't want to take on any of their children's issues. So they just let it ride. Now, they didn't like him. I feel like that's important to say, but they also wouldn't say anything to or about him unless it was just a dig at me. So it was not like they were trying to say like, I think you could do better. It was more like, well, he's a loser. That checks out for you.
Oh God.
So I mean, like that's like
because you have such a history of dating losers. That's like, okay,
that's my household. Just like that's like the inside scoop into like the kind of.
So sorry.
But so like most of this nitpicking, like making mean comments, like that sort of stuff didn't faze me. I feel like that's important to mention too, because I was so used to it from my parents and my home life.
Mm-hmm.
So when we did fight, it wasn't as big a deal to me that I would have left as somebody who maybe had a more emotionally secure household. So we continue in the summer and I'm so sick of him after this vacation because like I thought that was going to be my break from him. And of course it wasn't. Of course there the sexual assaults continued.
You can't get away from this
I cannot.
Wait, on vacation, the assault continued?
Oh yeah. There was no break from it except at the camp, because that was like the only place I had a legitimate excuse, I felt like. Because again, at this point, this is all my fault. Like, I did this to myself.
Awful.
So we get back from that. There's another week of camp that goes by, and then it's like dead middle of the summer at this point. So we're like 6 out of 12 weeks total. And the end of the week comes, the usual thing plays out. I'm trying to get to my car without him. He's there. It's whatever, just another week. Just got to get through it. It's just the weekend. We go to my parents' house. It's the usual play out. And again, my parents, when somebody's at their house, they sleep in the guest room. I sleep in my room. And it's, nobody intermingles there, because if you hang out with a significant other at my parents' house, you're in a room with a glass door. Like, there's no privacy.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, and I feel like that's healthy though, like for teenagers.
That's how my parents were, for sure. Oh my God.
So that night was a night that will stick with me forever. I was in my room before bed. And remember, this is like my one day off, like my one day to sleep in the next day. But for some reason, something just felt off in the air. And I peeked out my bedroom door in the hallway. And the way that our house was laid out, it was like my room, my brother's room. And then down the hall, the guest room was like in the middle. And then at the very end was my parents' bedroom on the opposite end to my room. And then downstairs, there was like an overlook balcony with my parents' family room. And my dad usually slept on the couch down there. But my dad also is very, 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 very hard of hearing. Like, he's borderline deaf, had hearing aids as a kindergartner, kind of level deaf, like very, very deaf. And my mom is a heavy sleeper. And my brother is such a heavy sleeper that one time all the fire alarms in the house went off and he slept through it. So, like, super, super heavy sleepers. So I'm the only one awake right now. And I peek out my bedroom door and I see that the light in the guest bedroom is still on. And I get confused a little bit, because I'm like, surely Drew is exhausted too. He wants to be asleep. Why is he still up? So I walk down the hall and I go into the guest room, and this guest room has like a thin entryway-ish. And then it's like because it's like a closet on one side, a bathroom in the guest room on the other side, and then it opens up into the room. And in the opposite corner of the bedroom from the door, he is sitting in the corner, like facing the wall, crying, sitting on the ground. And I was like, this is very odd behavior. So I close the door, I go in and I sit on the ground, like cross-legged in front of him. And I'm like, Drew, what is wrong? Like, are you okay? And he's like, I'm so upset. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, something's so terrible. And I'm so sad about it. And I was just like, what do you mean? Are you sick? Do you need to go to the hospital? Are you okay? And he turns around and faces me, and he's just sobbing hysterically. Like, there's something so wrong with me. I don't know what's going on. And I'm like hysterically trying to figure out, like, what's going on? Like, do I need to call an ambulance? What's the problem here? Like, why are you crying? I've never seen you this upset. And he stops crying and he's silent for like 2 seconds. And he looks me in the eye and he says, I just want to kill you so badly.
What the fuck?
And he starts describing in vivid detail how good it would feel to watch me die. And so
I'm sitting here going, oh my God, does he kill her? Does he kill her? And I'm like,
right, I know. Thank God you're here.
I'm here.
What?
Spoiler alert. I live.
What do you do?
I'm not, you guys. I'm okay. I feel like this was one of those episodes. This is one of those stories that just my heart, my brain, everything feels broken. And I feel like I just have so many questions, and there's still so much more to the story. And yeah.
I say there are no words.
I don't know what to say. I don't want to do a dogfish debrief until
we're going to wait.
The rest of the story.
There's obviously heavy stuff came up, and we're going to talk all about the assault and sexuality and virginity and how that played into this.
I want to know, can we focus this week on, I want to hear from our audience. I want to hear from you guys. Where are you at so far? Like, how are you feeling so far with this story? And do you have any predictions, or do you have any like questions that, you had that maybe we can see if we can answer, or that may be answered when we hear the rest of Clara's story? Like, I really, really want to hear from you guys. And I don't know, kind of hear where you're at so far and see if we're on the same page, and
I agree.
See if this story started to kind of get in your feels a little bit.
Well,
like
I think
it did me. I want this conversation to continue until next week when the second part comes out, because I related to this story so much. And I think so many of you will or have, or, can say that you have. And not that I like that, but it's the sense of community that it's creating. So continue that sense of community. Let's just keep the conversation going. I want to talk loud about these things because I feel it's so important. So let's keep having the conversation.
I'll hold the mic. I feel
You're so sweet, Anna.
I love you.
I love you. And in the meantime, please send us your own stories of, something that you've gone through. If you need a voice and we can be that voice for you, please just email us, and maybe not like you don't have to write out the whole story. Just give us a couple sentences of a synopsis. Let us know kind of what you went through and give us a chance to kind of
bullet
peek over
points
it.
Are fine.
Yeah, like little Cliff's notes. And it would be really nice to kind of take a peek at it and say, okay, this is, we want to hear more about this or whatever. And we've been getting so many, so keep them coming. We just really appreciate you guys doing that, because the more stories you share, the more community it creates, the more it shows other people that they're not alone. So keep them coming. Hannah, would you like to share the email?
Happily, my dear. Our email is investigate@thedatingdetectivespodcast.com. And stories, like, even if it's not specifically relationship-y, if you have a dogfish friend or work, like, we're open to that too. So you can email us, please, please, please. But you can always DM us too at Dating Detectives Podcast on Instagram, on TikTok. We're on the Facebook. We're not really on any other ones, but that's fine. There's only so many we can put our time into.
And just a final thought. If you are someone who's experiencing any type of abuse, whether it's violent or not, or, mental or emotional, or you are just feeling alone in some way and you just need a friend, you need somewhere to go, please come to the Dating Detectives podcast. Come to me, DM Hannah, Molly, either of us. You are never alone. Like, you will always have one of us, and we will come together and rally around you. So just letting you know.
If anybody else, like, another call to action, if you work with any organizations that are working in this field, even not this direct field, but something related,
if you have experience, any kind of experience you have with, like, in the field of domestic violence or rape, or, anything that involves, people hurting other people, or just whatever, we want to hear your experiences. So,
and maybe help out, maybe get involved. So thanks.
Absolutely. Well, we love you guys.
On that note, we'll see you next week.
Until next week, trust your femtuition.
Trust your femtuition, baby.